funds, it reflects poorly on the regional administration, which we don't want to be accused of. Every penny must be spent when it comes to this region. So it reflects poorly on the region's capacity to manage projects effectively, and it can possibly result in repercussion, where millions of dollars that should have been going now for 2024 for other projects have to now be placed back in the budget to take care of the Bamia Primary School, which should have been completed. It is also important that I let you know that we champion the cause that projects should come to the people of Linden. We have held programs from the previous government guiding contractors on how to be a part of the tender process. Make sure you're compliant. You have NIS, GRA, income and expenditure statements, etc., competitive bidding. However, despite that training, 70% of projects continue to go to people outside of the region. And so that is compounded for the very reason because the tender board composition at the RDC, there is no representative that, that was identified by the council to have oversight. The nominees that we submitted were discarded, and the then folks in Georgetown identify people who they know that they could control and people who are connected to their party. So all 5 members of the sitting tender board right now are affiliates or connected in some way to the People's Progressive Party. And so there is no representation for Amerindians in the Berbice River to benefit from these projects, to construct guard huts and bridges and prepare play fields. These are things that we have been championing. If you look at the tender documents, you will see that majority, 70% of all the contracts being awarded are given to people outside of the region. And maybe that is the reason why you would have seen a decrease in the region submissions for road projects. And the ministry is now coming to take control of that with a bigger budget, billions. You know that we're of the view that a lot of the pork is hidden in the infrastructure budget. And so just like you saw last year, you will see candidates of the local government elections for the PPP signing contracts on camera. They're not shame about anything. And majority of taxpayers' dollars are going to friends, families, and favorite. So yes, I don't see the budget impacting positively on the lives of our people. If the government was serious in a $1 trillion budget, they would have invested and ensured that all of the people who are on dialysis, for example, in the health sector, receive the full complement for the year and not just a part of the payment. And the other things that they raised that they are attempting to cushion. If you look at dialysis, for example, in the health sector, it's $45,000 a week a patient has to pay. You haven't heard anything, and we have a number of persons on dialysis here in the region. You haven't heard anything relating to how people will benefit. They were, I am saying to you that I'm not confident that any of those projects or the people of Linden will benefit in any way from those things that the government is seeking to pursue. And so, you know, we believe that, as the leader said in one of his presentations, that for the region, for Region 10 to grow, for Guyana to grow, the PPP has to go.
I just have a quick follow-up, sorry about that. As it pertains to this regime's propaganda about education and Jagdeo's pulling down of the University of Guyana, while they are giving out billions of dollars to their friends and cronies to have online programs, questionable institutions abroad, through the GOAL program. My question is, how much are children in Region 10, how much are they benefiting from this? And is the process fair? My final question, at least for now, has to do with the incomplete school, where $300+ million wasted of taxpayers' money. How much of an impact that has for our young children out there in Linden having to be overcrowded in other schools?
Well, thank you for your question, Mark. If you look at what has been happening for the entire 2023, you would have seen in the area of the gold scholarships and any other scholarship, no other person than a member, a candidate for the People's Progressive Party saying that they felt, in essence, targeted, discriminated, because there are children who attended Queens College, Bishops, Mackenzie High School, and all the other St. Rose's, and all the other schools who would have made submission, young people. And his sister was articulating the point that she was rejected on one occasion before the portal closed and even after the portal closed. And so that is evident. Days after, that building cannot be completed. That building was supposed to assist students from the Berbice River. If you look at the Five Corners, and they would have been enrolled in the program under the AP and UAFC. The year one was suspended. They were sent home. All of the investment that they made in their medical books, and for those of you who know the cost of medical books, fundamentals of nursing, principles of anatomy and physiology, medical surgical nursing, you will know that those books start at about $4,000 to $5,000. So nurses invested, and then the program was suspended. They were told to go home, and they were told that if they try or attempt to enroll from the Georgetown school or the Berbice school, that they would have been blacklisted for life. They then activated the program quietly and called back 6 persons from Linden. And Info 10 Media House would have did a coverage with those nurses. So we have the evidence. But the names that they called back, like somebody was carefully perusing the list to look for specific sounding names. Because the people who were called back their names either sounded like Dindilal, Pearson, and they were, they were called back to join the program, the year one I'm speaking about, while all of the other nurses were told that they are not going to be a part of it. And if they try, they were going to be blacklisted. So young people continue to be targeted. Scholarships programs, our people are not benefiting from it, as was clearly indicated by a candidate of the PPP. And it is important that our young people know that under the PNC government and Forbes Burnham, that education was free from nursery to university. It was, I think, in 1995 or 1994, that it was the People's Progressive Party who instituted fees and brought hardship to those persons who were desirous of continuing their study. Any attempt now to activate steps to do that, first they must acknowledge that they were the ones who placed fees on it. And we're happy that they're following along the leader of the People's National Congress and the opposition People-Centered Vision and the APNUFC Coalition manifesto, which, was to ensure that a university is built here in Linden. We will continue to pursue that, like the campus that was done in Berbice. That is our vision, that we ensure that free university is made free at Turkine, and that our people are allowed the opportunity to go there without any conditions. If they want to go and study without having to work or serve back, then so be it. We don't want to put our young people in a position like this government has done, where they place a black stamp in the passport and confine them to say, well, you can't travel, you can't do this. We have well-structured programs. We're going to increase the minimum wage to $150,000, as we have been making mention of, and we are going to ensure that our people enjoy a good life, a better life than they are enjoying, that they're experiencing right now.
Thank you very much, Chairman Adams. If just before Mark goes, with regards to the GOLD program, one of the challenges that we constantly face is that there are two things. When we compare GOLD as against the University of Guyana, it's almost the same budgetary allocation of $4 billion, right? But then when you look at who's accessing it and the restraints that we have, a lot of those folks within the interior and sub-region, like particularly sub-region 2, don't benefit from such a program because, one, they don't have stable internet access, they don't have the devices, right? And additionally, I know Mark can talk about this, but from the vice chairman perspective, what's happening in sub-region 2 with regards to education delivery and the budgetary allocation for 2024.
Thank you, MP Sears. You touched directly on the point I had wanted to raise, in direct answer to Mr. Bench's question, the impact of the budget on the people. And I can say for sub-region 2, the National Data Management Authority, under the coalition government, they set up internet connection, internet hubs in all of those, or most of those remote villages along Berbice River, Demois River, and in some parts of Essequibo River, where the boundary of Region 10 extend. And for 3 years into the 4th year of this government, we have not seen no input, no improvement in those services. In fact, those services got worse. I could remember during the campaign season 1, Minister was boasting of doing video calls from the wharf of Wairuni. I think even the chairman was doing video call from Wairuni. Now you barely could receive a message. Sometimes it don't work at all. And this is one of the things that Budget 2024 failed to address the needs of the people in the remote areas in this region, especially Berbice River, and touching directly on the GOLD program. They cannot access the program. Imagine we have students who's doing online course in Kokwani. They have to do those courses in Georgetown, some in Linden, go at family members when they have days for their classes to go and access those internet service. And so we see in Berbice River and Kokwani, the last time I was there, one of our support was saying, one of the PPP activists was trying to take our name to to access the $200,000 grant that they're supposed to do sometime this month or next month. I know she had some hesitant, and I said, look, this money is taxpayers' money that is being shared out, and it's your money. So don't be afraid to collect it. You know where you have to put your X will come election time. But this is some of the things we see our money is being spent in not a way that it will bring development to people, but in a way to bribe and to give handouts to persons. Of course, some person will require handout who may be vulnerable. The most vulnerable citizen, they might require to have assistance. And in assistance, you can more, we look forward to see money basically pour into the public assistance. And that is not being done. We see $3,000 after that. But person activists is now taking down names to give person in an attempt to lower them over to the PPT to make them more attractive. But that does not address the issue of people in sub-region 2 cannot access stable internet so that they can do online courses. There are a lot of online courses at different universities that they can access and whereby they can add to their educational status. But they cannot do that. They have to travel from Kukwani to come to Linden and somewhere they have families in Georgetown to access those courses. And that is some of the things that the budget needs to address. Not just a big budget, calling numbers $1.1 trillion, but how this budget will improve the life of the people of sub-region 2. In the form of education, we put forward to have a new wing to be added onto the Kukwani Primary, which continue to show low grades. And I want to address that low grades in Kukwani, especially at common entrance. The primary school is one that see a high turnover of students. In fact, all the schools in Kukwani see a high turnover of students because after you finish training of teachers, after you finish training from CPCE, they will send you into the sub-region. And so those schools tend to have inexperienced teachers. When they do gain that experience after 2 and 3 years, they're being transferred out and the cycle continue. So our children are not benefiting from those trained teachers. And so for me, I put forward for our council would put forward for the coalition manifesto. I mean, the government, I mentioned it here, they can do it now, but we want to see a public sector scheme whereby we can have homes built for teachers right in Kukwani, so we can have teachers trained at CPCE. They have an incentive where they can come back to the community and serve. And when they gain that experience in 3-4 years, they're there for 25 years. There are a number of teachers there that live in Kukwani that have 25 years experience and so onward, but the majority is outside of Linden. And so they have different issues that they have to face. They have issues where by the accommodation, the teachers' hostel, if you see it, it's despicable. Under the teachers' hostel, there's water. It's built on an old canal, so there's always water there. There's always mosquito infestation there affecting teachers, bad droppings going on teachers, and all these different things. Teachers who have been transported from out of Kukwani coming into Kukwani. And so there's a whole host of issue that is not being addressed by this administration, but looking forward to give their supporters or their activists, empower the activists by getting them to go out there so that they can lower coalition supporters over by giving them a $200,000 cash grant and so onward. But we want to see this budget impact the lives of our community. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vice Chairman Mark Gorin. Has been doing a fantastic job there in sub-region 2, primarily in Kukwani, Aichuni, Raymond, the riverine areas. Thanks very much. Mr. Benchcop, do you have a follow-up to that? And then
yes, thank you so much, Mr. MP. I like this press conference, the fact that a lot of information is being sent out there to folks, especially online and so forth, and which is a good job. I wish to commend you guys for this press conference. However, outside of this press conference, do you guys have a plan to go in directly into the communities, out of your offices, into Aichuni, around Wisma, around Mackenzie, all over Linden, in Kukwani and other places, Old England and so forth, to talk directly to the people who have an impact as it pertains to this fake $1 trillion budget? In other words, will you guys be putting boots on the ground.
Thank
But Mark, I just want to recognize really quick that we also are joined by MP Jeremy Figueroa, who is here. And I just want to make sure he can interject at any point in time to make his remarks. But just to set the platform, we do understand that we're preparing for an election, and there's some strategies that we would not be able to discuss publicly. You're fully aware of that. But what I can confidently say that through our the Windermere Town Council, our constituency representatives, and even those that are at the RDC, or councillors or chairman, have continuously been engaging all of those constituencies, every village they've been traveling to. And we know for a fact that the PPP regime is using this $1 trillion budget as possibly a means to fund their campaign, right? But I'm encouraging our residents not to be bamboozled or fooled. This is not a caring budget. Our representatives are always in those communities. I know, for instance, VC Mark Goring travels to Pokwani every other weekend, if he's not otherwise engaged with those residents there. And we will have a rollout as it relates to those various constituencies, what to expect for budget 2024, so that they will be aware of these projects. And the thing about these projects that are being executed, if the residents are not aware of those projects, they cannot, we had instances whereby work was poorly done or is poorly done, and the residents there objected to those projects because they were informed. And I know our regional chairman and councillors are going to be going into all those communities and inform those residents through community and bottom house meetings as it relates to those projects. So yes, we are going to be engaging them. Regional Chair.
Thank you. Mark, just to follow up on what MP Devin Sears said, I just want you to know that since 2020, when this council was sworn in, every year since then, the RDC, through its elected officials, worked diligently to ensure that our budget submission is based on submission and meetings flowing from the consultation we would have had with the people on the ground. I have visited every community in the Berbice River. I have been to the Essequibo River. At Linden, we have completed walkabouts, submitted our projects, etc. in all of the programs: health, agriculture, public works, right? And so we have been on the ground, but one must appreciate that the government continues to target those regions that are opposition controlled. In 2020, and I want you to listen me carefully, every other department would have received new vehicles so that they can, and this is not to in any way make it appear that I am concerned just about a vehicle, but when you are going to do things to prevent me from interacting with people on the ground, then I will have to speak out. I know about driving fancy vehicle before I came into office. So every other department, you approve vehicles for them, but you deny the vice chairman a vehicle, knowing fully well that he has a terrain to cover, the Kokwani Trail, that is one that is, difficult to navigate at times. The regional chairman, I hold responsibility for Kurupakari and for Rivers View. No new vehicles have been ordered for us since 2020. The vehicles that we are using are the vehicles that were purchased since 2016 under the previous government. So that's the first thing I want you to remember. The constraints that we have to deal with. Every other official, every other department would have received brand new vehicles so that they can interact and go about these, And even when we say to them, give technical officers for example, the agriculture department, let's build a house in the Berbice River so that technical officers can be there to give support to farmers. All of that is being rejected. We have been on the ground. We have consulted with our people. Many of the roads that you're seeing being done by public works what they do, they collect the information from us, and then they go and repackage it to make it appear like if the RDC made no submission and that Edgil somehow knows all of the streets in Region 10. He relied on information from the officials, but he takes that information and then comes to play politics, doing contracts with members of his party who lost and who can't recover from the democratic blow they received during the local government election. And so what he did, he increased our infrastructure, our budget, roads and so on, capital that is, by just 20 million, 30 million, sorry. 30 million. That's about 5 roads that's going to be done by the RDC. And what he's going to do now is come in and make it appear that he is the champion of these projects. When we had to submit to Public Works, we signed off on it. I'm looking for the documents so that I can make mention. Look at here. Signed off. We wrote the Ministry of all the roads that should be done in the region. And they responded acknowledging it. And it was signed off by the Chief Roads and Bridges Officer, Ron Rahaman, and the Program Manager for Roads, Denita Crandon. But he will not acknowledge that he got all of this information from the local leaders who are in the field. He will come and attempt to play politics. But one of the things that the media needs to know is that even when they do that and deny us vehicle to monitor projects being given to friends, family, and favorites, you will always end up with a situation like what is happening at Casarina Drive, where over close to 60 million was spent on a road there, and it deteriorated the following week. And I will share pictures with you so that you can see on every road that public infrastructure has constructed, if you go on it now, you will see either it being deteriorated or residents complaining that because they have not followed through on a policy directive that the council, RDC, would have given, which says that we live in a hilly sand and clay region, construct roads in Region 10 like you are doing in Pradoville, so that when the rainy season comes, our people will not be affected. And so those are some of the things that oftentimes affect us, but rest assured that we will find innovative ways. We have activated the Regional Economic Advancement Partnership Program, REAP. And I can say this to you, that when central government denies us funding to assist persons with disability, we reached out to the private sector and an organization called OMAT, Overseas Medical Assistance Team, with their own money, constructed a center for children with disability, and their partners, and we of course are happy that they follow through on it, and the persons with disability are benefiting today. They come every year and they ensure for the past 30 years that persons who have to get surgery are assisted, and we will continue to partner with them. There are other organizations that helped us during the flood, Save Guyana, for example. In Kokwani, you know, we were the hardest hit region, but not one resident of Kokwani was given $1 million to compensate or to cushion the effects of the flood, like was done in Region 9. 600 families received $1 million each in Region 9. Not one family received funding after the flood here in the Upper Demerara Berbice region. And so there are many other areas in ICT and agriculture. We do not want to continue to approach the agriculture sector with just a fork, a spade. We want to ensure that we target our young people, and to capture their attention, we have to incorporate things like ICT into the program. They will not go, if you continue to look at the agriculture sector through the traditional lens, you will not captivate them to want to come and be a part. And that is why we launched an ICT program for agriculture. The very next year, the government defunded it. We started our Farmers Market Day program here in Linden. They defunded it. And so what we did, we ensured that a committee was put in place, and we have handed the committee over to the farmers. And of course, they have been getting support from private organizations. The US Embassy, when we asked for funding to help persons with mental health, that was removed from the budget. And so the US Embassy came on board and they provided the resources. The Office of the Regional Chairman assisted them, and we were able to run the program. There are over 400 cases of mental health cases reported in Region 10. Why would any government who claims that it cares about the people of this region defund or not even grant funding for such a project? And so we will continue. I will be on the ground visiting every community. Despite us not getting access to an increased budgetary allocation, we will continue to find innovative ways to connect with our people. It's sad that, you know, the ICT connectivity that was had during the coalition time in the Berbice River, they have allowed it to collapse because it allowed us to be able to communicate with persons in those communities so that we can know when corrupt actions like what is happening at Hururu right now, where there is no accountability for millions of dollars by the Tushau, allegedly, is being done. And so we will continue to visit those communities. I will take your advice. And of course, I will send you the photos when we do those visits. And I ask that, of course, you continue to follow the RDC's page. And of course, make sure you big we up when you see us interacting with our constituents. Thank you.
If I may add on, Mr. MP Sears, do forgive me. I'm taking all of Adam Harris' time because he just popped one question and he disappeared on us.
No problem.
Quickly, and this will be my final stuff. Hope to see more such press conferences though from you guys. I know the residents of Linden, particularly the taxi drivers and those who have to go to work and so forth, they're going through some severe hardship with what's happening on the bridge there. And this is a regime that boasting and bragging about billions of dollars for infrastructure. But there seemed to be some level of corruption with handing out 10,000 for some people who would have had their cars damaged and so forth. I'd like for you guys to address that particular issue and the strain that it's putting on the people of Linden. The other issue, has to do with in this fraudulent $1 trillion budget and the lack of access you guys have to the People's TV station and so forth in Linden. How much are you guys being discriminated against at this point in time, especially with the people of Region 10, particularly Linden and Ituni being saturated with a bunch of PPP propaganda, and you guys are not getting access to NCN and so forth? Oh, and finally, Mr. MP, I do mean it. I'm taking up Adam's time. You guys be extra careful that the PPP regime wouldn't roll into Linden since it's approaching Mashramani with one float to brainwash the people and have them forget about their miseries caused by the PPP. And my final question has to do with legitimizing a regime that is so uncaring to the people of Region 10 and by extension, the people of Guyana. Do you guys believe that by attending meetings with these individuals who are punishing the people of Region 10 somewhat legitimizes them? And should you guys stay away from any PPP propaganda meeting or meetings in the future? Thank you, sir.
All right, Darren, if I might go first. And also, again, I'm just making a call to the other member of Parliament, Figueroa, if he's here, to chime in at any point in time. That would be fine. I'm going to briefly comment on these, as you mentioned. With regards to the bridge, also as regional leaders, we believe that a new bridge is long overdue. That bridge is over 50 years old, right? This new bridge that is being proposed and funding has been found for, really that brought it out of the APNU AFC camp. We did a feasibility study. Our regional chairman is here. He's fully aware that we had a feasibility study, the proposed design, and we welcome that particular infrastructure development. But in interim, while that is on stream, there's indeed a growing concern with regards to the deplorable state of the bridge. That bridge is not safe. And time and time again over the years, money almost every week to an undisclosed sum was being spent to repair the wooden decking every week. The wooden decking, the bridge is closed down for maybe about 5-6 hours, and that's it. The issue with this bridge here is that we don't need a patch up work, and I think this new bridge is going to take maybe possibly 2 years to complete, if not that long, maybe less. And some proper work needs to be done. The patching thing can't work, and it's slowing up traffic and affecting all of us. With regards to NCN, and even the radio station that we have here in Linden, yes, the opposition is being shut out. We're fully aware of that. There's a deliberate attempt to not let our voices be heard, especially some of our representatives who is very, very strong APNU AFC. We have been blocked from NCN. I believe the chairman would speak to that. I kind of tell the last time I've seen an interview on NCN with him, or even getting some radio airtime, and the television station in Kokwani, which is run by the utility company up there. Yes, everything needs to be vetted first. It needs to be sent to Georgetown, sign off before it can be aired. So we know that they're using it as a political machinery. And finally, just to touch on what you mentioned in terms of us as representative meeting with the PPP with regards to if they have a meeting or so on. I would not support any of us as representatives having private caucuses and these things with PPP. But when it comes to the public interest, like in the case with the bridge, the Wismar Mackenzie Bridge, which the APNU initiated, we're not going to let the PPP come into our town or region and say that they own that project. They don't own nothing. We have the people's interests at heart, and the people have been saying for years now we need a new bridge, and the APNU AFC made it happen, right? So with our presence there and any such developmental project that regards the enhancement of lives of our residents within Region 10, I'm pretty sure that our representatives will be there. But I will not support any private caucus or anything with PPP representative if it does not mean well for the residents of Region 10. Mr. Adams, Regional Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Just to address some of the things that you mentioned. First of all, let me say, and you mentioned Mashramani. You know, you're a Lindener, you know that we debuted Mashramani. It's a Linden thing. It's unfortunate that you had to witness what occurred last year when the government officials attempted to, of course, bring seeds of discord amongst the people of our region. But I want them to know that the people of Region 10 are united. We will not be, we will not allow divisive politics to divide us. The government, as I said, is seeking to suggest that they're creating one Guyana, but when you look at what they do and their action, all you see is discrimination, divisive politics, and they continue to target our region. When one looks at national and other events, Mashramani for 2024, guess how much the government has increased the region's budget by for all national and other events? 20,000 Guyana dollars, 100 US. I know you're in the US, Mark. 100 US, Region 10. To cater for Kokwani, Aichuni, and Linden, 100 US, $20,000. That is what our increase was this year. And so our position was, as last year, I know many of you still want to know, we said that at the regional level, because our funding was so meager, let us focus on delivering a colorful Mashramani with many floats to the people of Linden. The government, through its agents, and of course, you know, the office of the regional chairman and councillors, we're policy. We don't administer finance, nothing relating to contracts, not related to service provider comes out from this office. And so our position was, let's spend all of our funding on Linden and Kokwani. They said no, they insisted on spending half of the allocated amount in Georgetown. They did a float that was not reflective of what we are, and they went ahead. Got some revelers, took the costumes that we were going to use for Linden, and they used it in Georgetown, and attempted to say, well, we will have to wash it and use it back in Linden. That's the level of disrespect That was shown to the people of Linden. We met with the commander and the other stakeholders, and we outlined the route for MASH. We said the route for MASH is from the Five Corner to Bay Rock. 2 days before the MASH, officials from the government used NCN, the propaganda machinery, to send out disinformation. And if you only want to, if you're concerned and if that is continuing, yes, when we met with the team from the US, the fact-finding team, as soon as we submitted our presentation, evidence, not just talking, the team came here to collect evidence, either via a dossier or so. So it was not a forum to just come and talk and counter. You had to provide evidence. And that is why everyone in the audience was given a minute or two just to explain that I've come here with my document. This is my presentation to show that there is no discrimination. We presented our case to show that there was discrimination. And because they were not able they didn't have any evidence, they left, broke up the meeting, threatened the US officials that were here, and left. Immediately, they went to NCN, which they have denied me the opportunity to address the region through a live program. What they are yielding to is saying that you can come and speak, but after you're finished, it has to go to Georgetown to be edited, and then we will put out what we think should be put out. So like how I'm able to interact with the media here, I cannot do that on NCN. So no access is given. And that is why we taped our mouths during the local government elections, because only the People's Progressive Party candidates were allowed access. But yet you do not see much coverage coming from many of our media houses on this. And I encourage them to come to Linden. Travel to Linden, let's have a one-on-one. We will take you to all of these sites, and you will see that the manager who's currently sitting at NCN was also a candidate in the local government elections. Do you expect them to treat us fairly? No. And so we intend to engage the private sector for Mashramani and bring them on board. We hope that this year, when the MASH on the 23rd is completed, that all the floats will not be sent to Region 6, which is predominantly Indo-Guyanese, that they will at least say, if it's 20 float, let 10 go to Berbice and 10 come to Region 10. Let's see if this government is genuine about their One Guyana policy. I know otherwise, but let's see if some of the floats will come this year. All right. In the area of youth, sports, and culture, I think Figueroa might have left. Many of the projects that were started.
I'm right here, but I missed the question. Actually, I'm on the highway.
So you'll speak on sports, youth, sports, and culture once I'm finished. The TV station. So we don't have any access to it, and so we will continue to use forums like these to ventilate our position. The situation at the bridge. It's important that you first know historically what has happened there. For 23 years, the PPP did not give you, the people of Linden, a bridge. What makes you think that in 3 years, 4 years, they will now suddenly champion this bridge? So Patterson clearly released the document that it was a UK government that had approached us in an attempt to build back partnership with their former colony. And they provided the funding for the bridge. The PPP said they are not interested in that. The UK government told them, if you do not proceed with the project, we are taking back the money. And so they were pressured to continue the road, the Linden to Mabura road. And so the feasibility study started in 2016, I think, or 2017. And by the time the final study was done, of course, elections came, we were cheated out of office, and this government was pressured to continue that project. The bridge was simply there to complement the road and the Linden-Suzaik Highway project as well. The bridge was always a 4-lane bridge. And so, recognizing that these were all coalition projects, Mark, I will not allow the government to back me up against a wall where they believe that I will not turn up to these events. I believe the coalition recognized that Region 10 is well positioned geographically to become a major center for business and finance. And that is why they did the studies and expedited the work between 2018 and 2020 for that bridge to be constructed. All right. And so me turning up there signals that, one, we will make you uncomfortable. You will not go and spread propaganda to the people, especially the 10-day workers who they forced to go to the sign-in. But we will ensure that we document everything that you say, and we will counter it at programs like these so that you can have credible information. All right? We believe that the increased activity at the bridge, when it is completed, of course, will see a community like Linden, which will connect with a country like Brazil, seeing an increase in goods and services to the benefit of our people, right? We may have the services, Brazil may have the goods and so on, and we will be able to benefit. And so we would have not allowed the opportunity to pass us for them to take credit for something that they never intended to support. In addition, my position, and I can speak for me, is that one of the reasons why I attend these functions is I remember when I was in the Berbice River in 2021, I think it was, I just came out and I was at Kokwani and I saw this gathering there at Kokwani. They did not invite the elected officials. And once I got there, of course, protocol was acknowledged. They invited me to the head table, and they were commissioning the electricity, the generators for the electricity there at Kokwani, 24-hour electricity, which was a project that David Patterson had pioneered, and to ensure that the people of Kokwani got 24-hour electricity. Once I got to the head table, I was allowed to present. They allowed me to speak. I was not on the program, but I was given the opportunity to speak. And I would have articulated clearly that both the Magistrate Court at Kokwani was a coalition project completed. The 24-hour electricity was project done under the coalition. The Workers' Club that was renovated, the staff, the quarters at Staff Hills, which mimics that of the Watuka Guest House, was completed under the coalition, and several other developmental programs were completed during the period 2015 to 2020. And I said, we thank the government of the day for continuing this project that will bring prosperity to our people, because it will now be banking services will now have confidence in the Kokwani community to go and set up. Businesses will go because they now have access to 24-hour electricity. And I said, we are grateful that the government, in the interest of continuity, at least in this context, for this project, they continued with the 24-hour generation set there for Kokwani. When I got back to my seat, the Prime Minister had a prepared speech that is ACD, I think you call them, ADC, had placed on the podium. And when he got to do his presentation, he looked at the speech, he looked at the head table, he looked back at the speech, and then he pushed the speech away and he spoke from the top of his head. From that day, I came to the realization and recognized that his presentation was riddled with propaganda that would have discredited the coalition government, while he would have sought to magnify the propaganda to say that it was a project that they would have initiated, that they were the initiators of that project. And from that day, I said, you know what? I will turn up to every event, because it gives me an opportunity to speak truth to power so that our people can have accurate information. And so they did the same thing when they were commissioning the oxygen facility at Amelia's ward. Again, attempting to say that they were the ones who constructed the Linden-Suzaik Highway, that Amelia's ward started under a certain president. And you know, we had to counter all of that. If you do not turn up, your people will perish for lack of knowledge. That is scripture. We, as elected officials, must take command and will take command of Region 10. We are the ones who are elected here. 19,000 people went out and said we want these persons to represent us. And so we will continue to counter the propaganda. You saw how during the local government elections, during nomination day, they had a display where they forced part-time workers to put on t-shirts. Well, while they would have improved, and we acknowledge that because of the millions of dollars that were being given to people for them to vote a particular way, we were able to neutralize them and to take control of the tongue while we continue to manage the region. And so we will continue to turn up, to document the propaganda and counter it so that our people will get credible information. As it relates to the bridge, over the past 10 years, Mark, there was a Londoner who was contracted to do work on that bridge. He invested heavily, I understand, in the equipment, in the boats to go underneath, to inspect, to ensure that the structural integrity was preserved until we got a new bridge. This government, as of about 6 months ago, for whatever reason, discontinued the services of that contractor, and they awarded a project to some company called the 4Js, who we believe is aligned to the administration. The contractor does not have the paraphernalia to execute projects of this magnitude. If you look at the genset that he's using, that tells a picture, and I will share them with the media. And so they removed the Londoner who was competent, who had the equipment, and who employed Londoners whenever he was called to do remedial works on the bridge. And they placed a friend, family, or a favorite of them on the project. And the man doesn't have the capacity to execute a project of that magnitude. And that is why we have seen, in an attempt to cover up what he did, in essence, places the lives of our people at greater risk. Because rather than deal with the issue of going underneath the bridge at the span area, where there are about 8, what do you call it? The wood section is kind of like a spring. So when trucks hit it, it kind of cushions the effect of the weight of those ton trucks, etc., that cross the bridge, and then it flex back into position. What this contractor has done is, rather than deal with the issue direct, he has practically sugar-coated the stuff, put on like an icing over the compromised section, and attempted to expedite the work rather than take time to address the real issue, which places the lives of every Londoner at risk. So that section that he has just placed boards over and then cover it and bolt down a section, we don't know now what is happening under there. So all of London need to be concerned, Region 10, especially with those large trucks, timber trucks that cross the bridge. So what we would wish to say is that we prefer the contractor that was there for the past 10 years doing work that we never had an issue with, that reported accurately, because he's a Londoner too. He has to cross, so I know he will do the job good, but this guy that they brought recently doesn't live in London. And so it places the lives of all the residents of Region 10 at risk. That is the serious part. So that is what I would want our people to take into consideration. Let us review this thing and put back a competent contractor there. And, let's not look at costs. We're living in a $1 trillion economy. We have money. Let us put safety first, rather than our own the PPP should put safety first, rather than seeking to put their own personal agenda or having some vested interest in the project, like they are doing with the roads, etc., that are being executed in the region. Your other
Right.
question finally was well, I dealt with that, the meeting with the government officials. Why do we turn up? So I think I would have answered. I would now yield to MP Figueroa for him to deal with the sports facilities that have been neglected and the other issues, the lamps that have been placed on the ground and what has been happening at the fields, all three of the facilities that have been disrupted. And so the talent basket for the country, our youths have to be training on the road in the pathway of traffic.
MP Figueroa?
Yeah, sorry, I missed the question that was asked, but I get the sense that it revolves around why we as leaders in the community engage the government officials. Is that the nature of the question? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
I
so,
hear
yeah,
MP?
so
That's the question?
it's a four-part question which dealt with the bridge, the current situation that is
Yeah,
backing
but
up.
what was the question? Even if it's a four-part, I would appreciate to know what the
MP,
question is. Yes.
MP, let me just seek to, if I can bring clarity. So the media asks specifically about our young people and in the area of sports. What has happened to the projects that started under the coalition government, particularly the synthetic track, the other fields that we would have placed in the budget for them to upgrade, whether at Wizrock, Retrieve, Amelia's Ward, and what has become of Mackenzie Sports Club ground.
And what's the other one?
I can't remember the other question, but I think it had to do with the elected officials not being engaged by central government and going against the very backdrop that the vice president himself would have said that the PPP government prefers to meet with the people and not their elected officials, as was the article that was carried by News Source.
Okay. So with regards to elected officials engaging the government, or whatever it is the VP would have said with regards to meeting with the people, I believe the VP knows full well that meeting with the elected officials is indirectly meeting with the people directly. So if the question is regards to us as leaders, if we should or should not, even if the opportunity arises or not, meet with government officials, I firmly is of the view that we should, because we are elected to represent the interests of the people. And if the custodians of the resources are coming to your jurisdiction, of which you are elected to serve, then you are duty bound to engage. I don't want the public or the community of which we serve to have the notion that we should not engage the government of the day. That is not the
All right. MP?
but others, all of them.
MP Figueroa, you're in and out. You have a poor connection, please.
To the people of our constituency. I didn't hear you. Hello?
The connection is poor.
Hello.
All right. Yes, please.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we
So
are
you're not
now.
hearing me.
No, MP, your connection is poor. But I think
So
they got
I
the
was
essence
saying,
of, I think they got the essence of your.
am I being heard now?
Go ahead. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you, MP.
Are you hearing me?
Go ahead. Let me hear. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
Go ahead. Go ahead, MP.
Hello? Yes, I was saying that as elected officials, we are duty bound to make representation on behalf of the people. And in making a representation, it requires engagement with whoever the government of the day is. So we can articulate us with the responsibility to speak and make representation on their behalf. So I will not have to be given an official invitation for any government activity being hosted in my tongue and my region to show up. As long as I am available, I will show up because it is dependent on how we make representation on behalf of our people. And this is not a newness of engaging government officials. This has happened more Mortimer Mingo, all elected officials. You have to engage. So I don't want the community to have view that what the young leadership of the community is doing is something new. So yes, we must engage. Yes, we will continue to engage because that's our responsibility to engage and make the representation that is required on behalf of the constituency. Would
All right. I think we
You know,
lost.
Mr. MP,
Alright.
if you can, please, sir, I think that it is being misunderstood. Engagement, nobody is against engagement, and I don't think my question was in the area of whether to engage a government or not. We have a situation in Guyana where the PPP is in office under questionable circumstances. We have a situation in Guyana where the majority of people in Region 10 and outside of Region 10 are being discriminated against. Every single day we see the evidence. There's high unemployment, all manner of things. And so you have a corrupt regime that rolls into a tongue and have these sort of masquerades as engagement is not necessarily what the people are looking for. The people want our MPs and our representatives to engage, yes, to stand up and to say to this regime, we are here to hold you accountable. Now is not the time, and this is my opinion, mind you, that now is not the time to sit comfortably amongst them. Thank you.
I missed the sorry. I got cut off here. I didn't get to finish what I was saying, but
MP.
go ahead, Mark.
No, that's okay, Mr. MPs. I don't want it to be a back and forth situation. I respect this forum, and so I just yeah, my apologies. I just need to finish off on that. I don't need to go back and forth out of respect for you guys. Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate it.
I didn't know if I was
MP Figueroa, so our time is winding down and your connection is very poor, right?
Mr. Sears, good morning. I have a question.
Yeah, we haven't forgotten you. So MP Figueroa, if you're still there and your connection is good,
Even can you just mute the mic? You can mute because he may not be hearing you. So
okay. All right, great. So Antonio, you can proceed with your question as we try to wrap up for 1 p.m. I know it's been 3 hours.
I was saying. I was saying, David,
Yes.
MP.
Yes, please.
Hello?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I was saying with regards to the facilities in Region 10 with regards to the accommodation. You hear me? Damn.
The connection is terrible. Let's try. I'm not sure if you have another option in terms of connectivity. Let's explore that one really quick. But we're going to go to Antonio Day. Go ahead with your question, sir.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, and thanks for that. Antonio Day, Starbrook News. I have a question. I wanted to know if Mr. Adams is at liberty to respond concerning Mr. Gaspar. I know this has been in the public domain for several months now. So I wanted to know, what is your stance concerning him? Because he is contending that he is the acting town clerk. So I wanted to know, as a regional representative, and I'm not sure if Mr. Solomon is part of the meeting, but I wanted to know if any official is at the liberty to respond to that question concerning the stance of his appointment. And
All right.
and if any further actions will be taken.
All right, Antonio, what I would advise, because I don't think it's prudent for me to comment, I would prefer the mayor, that the question be posed to the mayor. I am sure that the Linden Mayor and Town Council will at some point hold a press conference, and I would respectfully ask that that question be deferred to that time when the Linden Mayor and Town Council holds its press conference.
Okay,
Or
I understand that, sir. Thank you.
You can reach out to him directly.
Okay, sir. And I have a second question, which is my last question. In response to what you said concerning the Bamia Primary School, which Starbrook News has been following, I just was a bit lost when you said you guys submitted a report. But I wasn't sure if you were referring to who you're referring to. I wanted to know, is it the Ministry of Finance you're referring to concerning an update on that school?
I was saying to you that Statement Construction submitted a report to which provided an update on the project. This was September 8, 2023. But clearly, what is in this report, they have defaulted on that again. They were seeking to say that the timelines, if shifted up to November, that they would have achieved their target in that short span. Of course, you know, we're in 2024 and they have not. So the report was basically Statement trying to wiggle their way out to justify maybe why they were deadlines and making a commitment that they would have completed by November, which of course they have failed to meet that deadline as well.
Okay, sir. Thanks so much for that clarity. And you mentioned that many students are decrying the holdback in the project. I wanted to know, are there any schools that you can say in the area definitively, which is my last question, that are experiencing overcrowding because of the project being stalled?
Well, as you're aware, Amelia's ward, and I stand corrected, is touted as the largest growing housing scheme possibly in the Caribbean. I stand corrected, or in Guyana. And so one would appreciate that the expansion and the opening up of the second phase, it is expected that the catchment area there would demand that this school be put into service as soon as possible. Listen, you may recall yesterday, and we dealt with this, we registered our concern with this project being given to persons who promote parties, etc. We do not believe that they had meet the criteria, but yet it was given to them. And so Statement Investment was entrusted with a contract to construct this school. Unfortunately, due to their inability to fulfill their obligation, funds that we had allocated had to be redirected to several other projects because we do not want to be accused of sending monies back. And that's how we had the inclusion project. I do not see this project being completed anytime in 2024. And so I think we may likely just have to terminate the project and go back to tender and award it, because the delay is affecting our people, our students, the entire community, and it is affecting our, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the important in your budgetary allocation. If you fail to expend what was allocated, it reflects poorly on the region's capacity to execute other major projects. And so this has serious repercussions.
Yes, sir. I know this, but I just wanted to know, I don't know if you heard my question. I just wanted to know which of the schools that you mentioned are overcrowding for reporting purposes. And that's all I want to know. That's all. I know of what you said before. I just want to know which of the schools are overcrowding as a result of the project not being completed. That's all.
Of course, it is affecting our people. They're overcrowding in several schools at Amelia's Ward Primary. There is overcrowding, yes. So to answer your question straightforward, yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Antonio. Guys, our time is up. We want to say special thanks to Member of Parliament German Figueroa, also who joined us earlier, Mr. Sharma Salmon, the Mayor of Linden, also Darren Adams, the Regional Chairman, Vice Chairman, Mark Goring. Also, we were joined by the Deputy Mayor of Linden, Mr. Dominic Blair, who was here, and some councillors, and we want to say thanks to Benchcop Radio 107.1, Mr. Adam Harris, Antonio Day, Swaflana Marshall. Thank you so much for your questions. And even to our viewers, even to our viewers online, we want to say thank you so much. We are going to continue such engagements as the time progresses. We also want to let you know that this video was shared on CNS Channel 9, Channel 6 in Georgetown, and also across our various media platforms. As we move forward, the Regional Democratic Council, the municipality, and the member parliaments responsible for Upper Demerara Borough will keep you engaged. Our next major activity is Mash Shamani 2024, which will be held between the periods of Friday, March 1 and March 3rd. The Grand Float Parade being on March 3rd. And then we can expect Linden Town Week, which is going to be between somewhere between the 26th of April to the 6th of May of this year. All right. As we continue to engage with the residents of Region 10, we will continue to represent well. And please reach out to our offices. I've shared the numbers there with some of our participants this morning. If you want to inquire or have any questions, you can call the chairman's office on 444-6121 or the mayor's office on 444-6373. We thank you so much for taking part in this Budget 2024 Region 10 press conference. We wish you God's richest blessings and have a good remainder of the day. To the media persons, we will share our opening comments and remarks with you shortly. God bless and take care. Thank you so much.
It is time for all of Guyana to unite under one banner and rally against the high cost of living. It's tearing our families apart. Enough is enough. Come rally with the APNU plus AFC coalition at the Burnham Basketball Court, Middle and Carmichael Streets, Georgetown, on Saturday, January 20th, starting at 5 p.m. Come and hear the leader of the opposition, Aubrey C. Norton, Member of Parliament, as he addresses the nation. Come and hear the AFC leader, Kamraj Ramjatan, all the members of Parliament, members of the private sector, and members of civil society. Yes, Guyanese, it's time to send a message to the incompetent and corrupt PPP. It is time for the people to stand against the high cost of living. Saturday, January 20th at 5 p.m. at Burnham Court, Middle and Carmichael Streets, Georgetown. Come out and let your voices be heard.
I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Come again, can't take it no more. I can't take it.